Hello everyone. In the previous lecture of SQL Server, we learned about what is a database and how do we use a database and how data is stored in a database. So in this lecture of SQL Server, we will learn about primary key and unique key. First of all, we'll learn primary key. So what is a primary key? A primary key is a key which uniquely identifies all rows in a table. It means that primary key is used to uniquely identify all rows in a table. Also, it don't allow null and duplicate values in a table. It means that every record in a column will be unique. This sentence means that if we apply primary key on a column, the records in that column cannot be unique and also null. What are the key points of primary key? Number 1, the data in a primary key cannot be null or be duplicate. This means that every data in a column will be unique and it cannot be null. The null means that the column cannot be left empty. There must be a data in a column. Second, the primary key helps in the fast data retrieving. The primary key helps in fast data retrieving because when we apply primary key on a table, it automatically applies indexing on a table. There are two types of indexing, clustered and non-clustered index. The clustered index can only be one on a table. So on the column which we apply primary key also automatically apply the clustered index. Third point is there can only be one primary key on a table. So this means that you can only make one column primary key on a table. You cannot have two primary keys on a single table. So let's test this. Let's test this on the SQL Server. So in the previous lecture we learned about the database. So let's create another database. Student. You can see we have created the database, but we are still using the database. So I also taught you in the previous lecture how do we use this database. So now we will create a table of student. And the first field is student ID, integer. So the student ID cannot be duplicate in a school. Let's suppose that you have a school, and in school every student has their admission number, and you note that admission number cannot be duplicate of two students. So also in this case we will take student ID as primary key. To make a column primary key, there is a keyword primary key. It is declared after the data type of the field. So second field will be student name and the data type will be varchar and the maximum length will be 20. And remember one thing, you can always change this length. And the third is student marks and the data type will be integer. So you can execute this query with You can execute this query by two methods. Number one, you can press this button execute after selecting this query. If you only have a single query to execute, there is no need to copy this. You can simply execute this. But if you have multiple queries and you only want to execute one query, so select and execute this query. And the second type and the second way to execute a query is press F5. So let's execute this query. Now we have to select the data of this table. So the query is select asterisk from student. Now you can see if I execute this whole query, the table will be created again and an error will come because we already have a table called student. You can see there is an error. There is already object named student in our database. So if we don't want to execute this query, we can comment this query. There are two types of comment. First is a shortcut. Press Ctrl plus KC. This is a shortcut to comment a query. And also there is another shortcut to comment a query, that is this. You have to write two minus sign or hyphen sign in front of a query. If you do this, you can see if we execute this query, commands completed successfully, but we didn't see the data of this table because this query is commented and this will not be executed. So let's Control Z. You can see now if we don't want to execute this query again and again, so we will comment this query by shortcut Control K plus C. Now if we select this query, you can see our table is currently empty. To insert records in this table, we also learned a query in previous video. Insert into student values. You can see the first field was student ID and the data type of student ID was integer. So let's suppose the student ID is 1, student name is Ashmit, and the student marks are 70. Now if you execute this query and select the table, you can see we have inserted a data. But if you try to insert this data again, let's suppose the name of student is Karan. You can see an error has come. Violation of primary key constraint. Cannot insert duplicate key in an object database student. So it means you have to change the value of primary key. You can see now there is no error because the data is not duplicate. And also if you have a table with thousands and lakhs of record, the data retrieving will be fast as compared to simple tables. But this is a very small table, so you can't see the difference. Now we will learn what is a unique key. What is a unique key? So a unique key is almost similar to a primary key. But the main difference is a unique key can be applied on multiple columns on a table. And second, you can enter data, you can insert null data in a unique key column. But the advantage of unique key is it can be on multiple columns. So let's also test this unique key in the SQL server. So let's create another table in this same database. Create table student 1. So let's take it as student ID integer. Now let's take it unique key. And And if you want to apply unique key on a table, the keyword is only unique. You don't need to write the key. So now this means student ID is now unique. And let's take the second field, student name. And the data type is varchar, and the maximum length of the characters is 20. Now let's make only this much table because we are not testing. Now you can see we have created a table. Now let's comment this. Now we will select the data of the table. See, currently it is empty because we didn't insert any record. Now insert some records. The student ID was integer and the name was, let's take, and only this much. Let's copy this because why not? Let's take this column null. We will see that will there any error come or not. Now if we insert these two record, you can see we have inserted the records. Wait, yeah. Now if you try to insert this record, you can see violation of unique key constraint on the table. Now if we do it 3 and insert, see it's inserted. It means it is almost same as a primary key, but it can be on multiple columns. So let's make another table and make a lot of column with unique key. So let's uncomment this and change the name of table. And to uncomment the comment, there is also a shortcut Control K plus U. Let's copy this. Now let's take student ID 2 and 1, and these both are unique. Now you can see there are more than one unique key on a table. It means you can have more than one unique key on a table. So let's insert some record in this table. Let's copy this code. Now if we execute this without changing anything, you can see again error has come 3 times because we have tried to validate the query 3 times. See 1, 2 and 3. Now if we change the value, see again an error has come. You know why? Because we already inserted the data of 1 and 1 and we try to execute this data again, so this error came. Now select our table. Let's copy this. Now you can see we have inserted our data and each row is unique. Now what if we try to make a varchar unique? Now let's make another table, student 3, and try to make it as unique. Now if you create the table, oh sorry, see it, you have created a table, student 3, student 3. Now, if you change these records 3 and 3 and you have the same name and insert the data, you can see again the violation of unique key and select this. You can see only one record is inserted and that's this record. But now a question comes: should we make a varchar? Should we make the varchar column unique key? It is often not a good choice because the name of student can be same. Let's suppose you have a school and there are two A or two Ashmit in a school. It is possible because more than one student have can same name. So it is advised not to make varchar colon a unique key. Thanks for watching. In the next video, we will learn about foreign key. Have a nice day.